Obviously, we always like talking about dynasty trades, but really, there aren't too many opportunities to get them done. I would say the number one time, if you are going to get your league mates active, checking sleeper, and actually responding to your trades, is going to be either right before your rookie draft, during your rookie draft, or right after your rookie draft. So pretty much right now is the time to be getting these trades done. And what I did is I went over to the Discord and I pulled up the dynasty trade section, and we see like hundreds of dynasty polls, hundreds of dynasty trades in the Discord every single day. There's a free link to it in the description if you're not already in it. Pretty cool community. Obviously, everybody is a fantasy football fanatics, but regardless, I'm going through answering a bunch of dynasty trade questions, specifically looking at the rookies and the rookie picks, starting with the first example of the 105 versus the 202 and the 2026 first. Now, what's going to be really interesting to contextualize here is going to be the tier difference that you're going to have at pick 5 versus at the 202. Now, they don't specify if this is going to be a super flex rookie draft or if this is going to be a one quarterback league. But if we go over to the site and we look at the 105 range, it frankly doesn't exactly matter. Of course, you're still going to get the option of like Cam Ward if it's a super flex league. But if not, you're looking at Henderson, you're looking at Judkins, you're looking at players that do have the profile where they can be top 20 assets in Dynasty by next offseason. Whereas if we're going down and looking at the 202 instead, this is going to be the range of like Luther Burden. I know in a lot of sleeper drafts, we actually have Matthew Golden going down there. So it's a really significant drop from a prospect of Trevion Henderson down to Luther Burden, or from Quinshon Judkins down to, I don't know, Jaden Higgins. Now, with that being said, picking up that additional 2026 first may be enough value where it actually does make a lot of sense to move back. And now this is going to be something that's very important to contextualize on if you are trading with somebody that looks like we know their first round pick's going to be extremely late. We all have those teams in our leagues that they're absolute juggernauts where they were in the finals last year. They were in the finals the year before that. They look to be in the finals this next season. And if you're making a trade for that team's future first, probably not super exciting. But if that first round pick has any shot to be the 103, any shot to be the 104 next year, then you very clearly win this deal. So I think a lot of it comes down to the actual team you're trading with. If you're playing around with the trade calculator that we have on the site, you can see you can't really just put in a regular 2026 first round pick. On the trade calculator, we make you put in either a 2026 early to mid or a 2026 mid to late. And if you put those two separate options into the trade calculator for this deal, you can actually see if it's an early to mid first, you very clearly win the trade. But if that first round pick turns out to be like the 110 next year or the 111, you will slightly lose. So definitely take a look at the team that you are trading with. Going over to our next trade, this is an AJ Brown trade where we are moving over to the 107 and the 207. Now, I will say the 107, I think is a pretty good player, right? Like if we're going over and looking at the Superflex rankings, you are pretty much guaranteed to get one of Cam Ward, Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Ted McMillan, or Travis Hunter with the 107. Really the only player we can guarantee you're not getting Genty, you're not getting Hampton. We know that. But you're still getting one of those assets that could be a top 20 dynasty pick next offseason. And with the 207, which just looks like it's going to be a 10-team league, so it's actually going to be pick 15. If you're in a Superflex league, again, this is going to be like the Jaden Higgins range, the Tootin range, the Scattaboo range, the Luther Burden range. So you're getting two decent prospects. But AJ Brown's AJ Brown. If I'm a contending team, it's very easily going to be the AJ Brown side. I don't know if you're getting enough juice here. And if this would be a one quarterback format where instead at pick 7, you're not going to get access to somebody like Judkins and you're having to choose between like a Buka, Golden, a tight end, or reaching on Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, then I think you're absolute toast if you make this deal. Now going over to our next trade, this comes from Tilt Life. This is a trade where we are sending the 109, a 2027 first, which it's much tougher when you get to the 2027 picks to figure out exactly what that team's going to be like, if that's going to be an early pick versus a late pick. Obviously, every day that passes, there does bring a little bit of uncertainty. The 309 in Ramondre Stevenson versus Tyreek, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. So I threw this into the trade calculator and it says it is a fair deal. And what I responded to him with this is it's a fair deal, but you better make sure you're a contending roster. Because obviously I look at a lot of Dynasty teams every single day for members of the site that submit them. And I occasionally come across a team that is an absolute dumpster, right? Where maybe last offseason, they went heavy in on a player like Brandon Ayuk. They went heavy in on Tyreek Hill. They went heavy on Cooper Kupp. They went heavy on Isaiah Pacheco. And all of a sudden, their value is cut in half. And at the same time, they are projecting out to have a very difficult time to contend, but they don't have their 2026 first. They traded away last offseason when they tried to go all in. And if you find yourself in that position, you're screwed. If you don't have the firepower to contend and you don't have your future first, it's over. GG's, what the hell are you supposed to do? So if you make a deal like this, you better know for a damn fact that you are a juggernaut, that you are a strong contender this year, that you are going to be a strong contender next year, because if you start trading away 2027 picks, your flexibility down the line goes away. And of course, you can, one, put these deals into the trade calculator on the site just to make sure you're not getting ripped off. And the second thing is, what I would highly recommend is if you're playing on Sleeper, link your team with the site and you can look at exactly where you are in the power rankings. And if you're not a top 1, 2, or 3 team, you're probably not a juggernaut and you probably shouldn't be trading away your 2027 first. Now, going over looking at Christian McCaffrey's trade question. Says, if I could get a future first for CMC now, would you take it or wait until the season and hopefully get a little bit more after a few big games? So I threw this in the trade calculator, and if it ends up to be an early to mid first round pick next year where you're getting like the 103, then it's so clearly going to be the pick side. That's what you want, especially on a rebuilding team. And what I responded to this trade question was, you want to take the first, even if CMC gets back to being the running back 1 in fantasy, right? Like, let's say we're in week 4, Christian McCaffrey through the first 3 weeks has been averaging 25 fantasy points per game. You throw McCaffrey on the trade block and a contender approaches you. Obviously, you are going to be getting their 2026 first round pick. That's going to be the starting point. You're getting at least one first. But what else are you getting on top of that? How much extra value are you going to be able to squeeze? Are you going to get 2 first round picks? I don't know. I think in a super flex league, probably not, to be completely honest. So you're maybe looking to squeeze another rookie from this year's class that maybe went in round 2. Maybe you're looking to get Cam Scadaboo and that future first once McCaffrey shows that he is truly going to help a contending team. But if you flip this to the other end, if you're a rebuilding roster, you try to wait until the season to sell McCaffrey for that first round pick. And maybe we get a report in training camp that the injury is still bothering him, or maybe in the first 2 weeks, he starts off a little bit slow and scores 12 points and 9 points, then your hopes of getting that first round pick completely go away. So if I'm a rebuilding team and I get the opportunity to like sell McCaffrey for a future first, he's out the door, to be honest. I'm going over and looking at a trade where we are moving back from the 107 to the 110, where the best remaining players of the 107 are Henderson, who is going to be there. And then at the 110, you're going to be looking like Igbuka, Golden, Burden, Loveland, Warren. We know that that is that massive tier, right? I would not include Burden there personally. So I threw this into the trade calculator because effectively what you're doing is you're just trading away Henderson for Jordan Addison in the 110. So you're trading away Henderson for Jordan Addison and Igbuka. Said you do win the deal with the trade calculator. And I will say I am extremely proud of the trade calculator on flockfantasy.com. If you have not used it, I would 100% recommend it. I think it's by far and away the best trade calculator when it comes to Dynasty. You're going to get a lot of deals where it says it's a fair trade and it's going to be up to your roster, which is, well, a lot of deals are in Dynasty. But if you see a trade where it says you're robbing them or you're getting robbed, or you see a deal where you're clearly winning, 99.999% of the time, I agree with the trade calculator and I think it's spot on. This is maybe one of those instances where it's a little bit tougher. Maybe I'm just so in on Trevion Henderson at this point. But Henderson versus like Addison and Igbuka, if you were a contending team and it was like a shallower lineup, I'm fine if you wanted to go Henderson, but I do think the value lies with Addison and the 110. I'm going over and looking at a trade. This is a clear example that I'd really ask everybody. And the trade calculator is free on flockfantasy.com. Again, make sure you're using this for the love of God. Somebody traded away, says, do I trade the 105 for Kupp and Pacheco? This is so clearly a spot where you would be making a massive, massive mistake. Just going over and looking at underdog drafts at the moment, Kupp's being drafted as like the wide receiver 50. The expectations for him this season are extremely low. At best, you get a 1-year rental that's like a wide receiver 2. Pacheco, at the same time, is being drafted as an RB3 this year. Both of these guys could be zeros next offseason. When that guy you take at the 105, which maybe it's Trevion Henderson, he could be a top 20 dynasty startup pick. So again, threw this in the trade calculator. It says that you're absolutely getting robbed if you make this trade. So please, if you ever see you're getting robbed with the trade calculator, do not make the deal. Next person says, trading for the 110, got a guy in my league who wants to buy 2027 first. He's ready to give me the 110 for my 2027 first and the 205. How you have to look at this is you're moving up 7 spots, and you're not moving up 7 spots from the 110 to the 103. We're obviously at the very top of your rookie drafts. The value drop off is exponential. So to move up 7 spots and trade away your 2027 first, to sacrifice all the future flexibility of your roster for making plans in 2026, I personally would not do it. I think it'd be a very poor move. Trade calculator would also agree. Trade calculator says you're losing even if your 2027 first is mid to late. Now, next trade is, would you trade Josh Jacobs for Harvey and Tootin? So it is an interesting spot. I know the person says that they view Harvey as a Kamara type PPR scammer, which I completely understand. Same coaching staff, right? They drafted Kamara as a rookie, and all of a sudden now you are looking at Harvey getting that round 2 NFL draft capital. I would say if you look at his receiving involvement in college, I think it's very, 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 very difficult to say that he is going to be seeing the same type of receiving volume as Alvin Kamara. I'm looking at the trade itself. It says that it's a fair deal and up to you. And again, like I said, if you're using the trade calculator on the site, a lot of these trades are just going to say fair deal. And I think that this is a perfect example. If I was a contending team, I think Josh Jacobs is a locked and loaded RB1 this year. I think you could make an argument to go in his direction. But if I'm a rebuilder, 100% you want to go in the direction of Harvey and Tootin. But again, this is a good example. Fair trade. I think it's up to you. I don't think one team's getting too much value or another team's getting another. Someone wants to trade AJ Brown for the 105 in a 2026 first. It's another valuable thing. Like if you're in the Discord, you can see like the very first trade we looked at in this video, or maybe the second or third, whatever it was. Somebody traded AJ Brown for the 107 in a mid-second round pick. So if you look at here, you getting to trade AJ Brown for the 105 in a future first, then it's an absolute no-brainer. Even if that future first is mid to late, that 105, going back to it, I mean, you could take Cam Ward if it's super flex. You could go with Travis Hunter if your league mates are scared. You can go with Trevion Henderson. But regardless, I think that's a very, very easy reset. Going over, somebody was looking at trying to get a quarterback 3 where they need one on a contending team. They have Hurts, Purdy, Carr. I would say wait until the season, see what happens with Derek Carr. But especially if this is the price point that you have to pay, you're trading away the 109 to get Sam Darnold. With Darnold, signs a 1-year deal in Seattle. The 109, you're reasonably going to be able to hit the reset button with a wide receiver that gets round 1 NFL draft capital with a Buka Golden, or you're going to be able to get a running back that has a good landing spot like Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, or a tight end that goes inside the top 10 picks in the NFL draft with Loveland. So yeah, I would not sell the 109 for Darnold. If you really need a QB3 during the season, get one during the year. Next trade is going to be a trade that was made during a draft. And this is something that I have seen over and over again. I have seen people really wanting to go out there and trade back. And of course, I'm not against trading back in rookie drafts. I think a lot of times trading back is the move. Like you go back and look at last year, I know the Dynasty Land guys absolutely love trading back from like the 101 and going into the range where you could get, say, Jaden Daniels. And clearly that was 100% the meta last season. And it has been a lot of times. But it seems like everything I hear everybody talk about is trade back, trade back, trade back. And when I look at these deals, like somebody's sending the 105 and the 204 to get the 102 and the 305. Like if you want to go get Hampton, if you want to go get that 102, where you're essentially sending, say, the 105, just Henderson, right? Best running back that would be there. Or maybe your league mates are scared. Maybe it's Travis Hunter. You're effectively sending like say, Henderson and the 204, which the 204 is like Jaden Higgins, for Hampton, and a player you'll get in the third, like, say, Mason Taylor. I think it's a very fair price point to trade up for Hampton. Again, I'm not going to go out there and tell everybody, oh, you need to trade up in your rookie drafts, especially from 5 to 2, where it is a reasonable tier where a lot of those players are going to be great. But I don't know. It seems like the price point to trade up, at least from what I've been seeing in the Discord, has seemed very reasonable this year in comparison to the past. I mean, if y'all did not play Dynasty back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, specifically in startup drafts, it was insane. There would always be somebody in your startup draft that was willing to give you their second, their fourth round startup picks, and their future first round rookie pick to move up into the first round. You could always find somebody to make that deal with, or 99% of the time. So there was a good span of, that was also back when I was playing like 30 Dynasty leagues a year. I was absolutely obsessed with Dynasty. It was the only thing I thought of 24/7 from like 2014 for a long time. But there were 20 startups I did where I never drafted in the first round. It's a little tangent, but it seems like now everybody knows. Now everybody knows to trade back. You're never going to get a price like that in a startup. And even it seems like it's going into rookie drafts as well. That's what everybody's trying to do. So it's much more reasonable to trade up in your drafts now if you wanted. Next trade is Deebo Samuel, Jonathan Taylor, Justin Fields for Michael Pittman, Christian McCaffrey, Jared Goff. So interesting trade. I did this in the trade calculator. It said that the Goff, Pittman, and CMC side wins it. How I'm viewing it is like Deebo versus Pittman. Is that really going to make a difference if you win or lose your league this year? I'd rather have Goff over Fields. McCaffrey versus Taylor, I'd probably rather have McCaffrey. I know that's not a rookie pick deal, so I don't know why I included it here. But this is also another example of somebody trading up. Like they are looking to move back from Hampton to the 103, where they would take Henderson and pick up the 203. For me, 203, one quarterback format. What? That's like Scattaboo. Super flex league at the 203. Maybe you're getting Burden. But I think Hampton is just such a good prospect. It's definitely a fair deal, and it is up to you. But for me, my personal preference, I like Hampton so much, I'd probably just stick and pick Hampton. Going over next trade, which side wins? The 106, which he already knows it's Henderson, plus Tua or Kenneth Walker and Devonta Smith. For me, especially in a super flex league here, I know it's a 10-teamer. Like, I don't necessarily see a big value gap between like Tua and Smith or Tua and Walker. And I'd way rather have the rookie over Kenneth Walker. Like, I'd way rather have Henderson over Walker. Next deal is a Chris Olave for picks. And one thing that I have noticed, especially for people that are newer in Dynasty, I'm not saying that Mike's new or anything, but this is something I've noticed with team reviews. People like thinking that their third round picks are going to have some great hit rate. That, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this third round pick. I'm going to be able to take Jaden Blue and he's going to be great. I'm going to be able to take DJ Giddens. He's going to be amazing. I'm going to be able to take Devin Neal. I'm going to be able to take Jordan James. I'm going to be able to take Jalen Royce. I'm going to be able to take Harold Fannin. And I know this guy's going to be good. I spent all offseason talking about him. The most likely outcome for these third round picks is they are bums. Realistically, if you look at historical hit rates, your third and fourth round picks are going to be trash. So when you look at a real player like Chris Olave, potentially selling Olave for like the 210, 302, 310, you throw this in the trade calculator, says you'd be getting robbed, and I would agree with that. I think you'd be getting robbed. Now, the second deal, the 110, different player, different expected hit rate. The 110, you could be getting Ibuka, you could be getting Matthew Golden. 302, maybe you like somebody in that range you can take a dart throw on. So the second deal, Chris Olave for the 110 and the 302, we threw that in the trade calculator and it says it's a fair trade. So again, understand that those first round picks should be infinitely more valuable than what you're looking at with those thirds and fourths, given the historical hit rate you should have with those players. But I think that's all I have. Again, I'm going to keep on answering these trade questions in the Discord. And if you are making trades, I highly, highly, highly recommend using the trade calculator on the site. It is free. Again, I have never been able to find a trade calculator that works as well as it. You can put in your exact league settings and it actually tweaks the values that you are getting. A lot of trades are going to come back as a fair deal, up to you based off your team. However, if you see a trade where the trade calculator says you very clearly lose or they're robbing you, for the love of God, please reevaluate before you pull the trigger. But I'll leave the link to the Discord in the description. If you ever want to ask anybody your trade questions, I'll leave the link to the site, which has the trade calculator, in both the pinned comment and the description as well. But I really do appreciate you, and I really hope we get to see you out with a live stream sometime soon.